Some newspapers ran a provocative headline recently, "The €1,000,000 Patient." It referred to the approval of Glibera, a gene therapy for lipase deficiency. The cost of treating each patient, of which there are only about 200 in the whole of Europe, is about €1,000,000. By itself, Glibera isn't going to have much impact on government straining healthcare budgets. But it will be very significant for Chiesi, the clever Italian company that is bringing it to market. And it is an important sign of market change. Years from now, Chiesi will be seen as a company that helps shape the industry. Now that's quite a big claim for a relatively small company, so allow me to give you some of the theory before I return to the practical implications of this interesting development. The life science industry is a good example of a complex adaptive system. And those kinds of systems can't be predicted in the traditional sense. Instead, we have to look at the system's emerging properties and work out where they are pointing. Two of the most important of these emergent properties are the inexorable expansion of what is technically possible and the gradual reduction, in relative terms, of what governments are able to pay for. The first of these things is driven by scientific advances, the second by the convergence of demographics, economics and politics. It doesn't take much analysis to see that these two properties interact to change the payer environment. Until relatively recently, in the West at least, governments have been the major payers in developed markets and have willingly paid for almost everything that is technically possible. In most countries, the technological existence of a treatment was nearly synonymous with its reimbursement. Now I know that these are generalizations and they're far less true when applied to the countries without developed socialized healthcare systems, but the "if it can be done, the government will pay for it" idea has been, to a first approximation, a good rule of thumb. But this payer environment has been eroding for a long time. Dentistry, ophthalmology, cosmetic surgery were the earliest examples of the state drawing the line around what they would pay for out of financial necessity. The trend is continuing with increasing co-payments in many essential medicines. And in the last few years, health technology assessors like the UK's NICE have begun to use health economics arithmetic for what is effectively a redrawing of the boundaries about what the state will pay for. So, as technology continues to outrun economics, what the state will pay for may increase in absolute terms, but in relative terms will shrink to a smaller and smaller proportion of total healthcare spending. The King's Fund, a very influential think tank, predicts a world where healthcare spending is split 50-50 between state and citizen. Now this means the opening up of at least two new markets. Firstly, the mass market of consumers who have to buy or part buy their own medicines. We see this already in emerging markets, of course, but over time, economics will force socialized systems to do the same. This mass market is important in some therapy areas, but the mass market probably isn't going to pay for products like Glibera or even Sovaldi for hepatitis C. That points to a second new market, the wealthy consumer. Intuitively, one might expect that rich governments will be the first choice of customer for expensive therapies. But another emerging property of the healthcare system is unequal wealth distribution. There are, for example, many more millionaires in the world than there are Australians. And the number of us who are willing to pay more than our government is able to pay is increasing all the time. This creates a large global segment of relatively wealthy people who are willing to pay for expensive treatments. If, for example, Glibera was the best option for your child, could your family find the money? I'm not rich, but I probably could, and if I could, I certainly would. This has very important practical implications for life science companies. It means that marketers of very innovative treatments will need to evolve from selling to only governments to also selling to rich consumers. That means new marketing capabilities, some of which will be very alien to our industry. Some life science companies, if they're lucky enough to get their hands on a great technology, will fail to learn the new skills needed to exploit these new market habitats. Others will realise that, as Darwin said, that it is those that are most able to adapt that survive. And such adaptation to exploit new environments happens all the time in biology. Just look at the pigeons in your city. They evolved to live on cliffs, not buildings, but they've adapted very well. Life science companies just have to decide whether they want to be pigeons or dodos.